Okay, good evening, everybody, and I welcome you to the EduPay Hangout February webinar. And in this webinar, we're going to be having an interview session. And so we have named this webinar Career and Parenting. Yes, because our guest for today will be giving us from her own experiences. She is a lawyer, so that's to tell us that she's a career woman and she's also a mother of two. So we are going to be learning from her today as she shares her experiences with us. So it's going to be taking the shape of an interview format. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am so pleased to announce to you that our special guest for today is Mrs. Jennifer Matthew-Ero, and she is here with us. Good evening, ma'am. You're welcome.
Good evening, madam.
Yes.
So glad to be on this platform tonight. Good evening, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you for hosting.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. It's an honor to have you here, and we are glad that you are able to make it here today. So very quickly, Ma, can we meet you? Can you please introduce yourself to us? Tell us about yourself, ma'am.
Okay, my name, as has been announced or as has been mentioned, my name is Jennifer Matthew-Ero. And I hope you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Jennifer Esilsa Matthew-Ero. I always love to add that middle name. Yeah, I am, first of all, a child of God. I am a wife. I'm a mother of two, a boy and a girl who are 6 and 5 years old. And then I am the convener of a ministry for women called Friends in Koinonia. And then I am a lawyer. As a lawyer, I'm into private practice. And I am a family law practitioner. I'm also into property law practice. Then I am into pre and post CAC incorporation filings. Yes. And with these, just corporate and commercial law, so to say. So with this, I find myself being legal advisor to a number of companies. For instance, I had a meeting just this evening with a board of a company to give legal advice. And then I'm also a counselor.
Wow. Wow.
This is born out of the practice of the family law, yes, as a counselor.
Wow.
And one more thing, I am also a writer and I have authored a book by God's grace.
Wow. Amazing. Congratulations, yes. Ma. So listening to you, we can easily tell that you are a very busy person. A very busy person. So would you like to just describe to us your typical day? What's your typical day like, and how do you try to balance your day, your daily life with your career as a lawyer, and also a wife and a mother to two beautiful children? So
wow. Okay, what I do basically every day as a wife and a mother, I try to take care of the home, the home front, taking care of my husband and then my kids. And then in the career front, of course, okay, let me say this. Sometime in 2019, I had to resign from my 9 to 5 job. Yes, I had to resign. I was an associate in a renowned law firm in Lagos, but I had to resign based on instruction. And one major reason for that was so that I could have time for the home front. And then I ventured into what I call a flexible practice. And that's what brought me into the private legal practice, where I can have time both for my family and also for my career. I'm tempted to say hallelujah.
Please go ahead.
All right.
You
So
free.
as my day typically, okay, I find that, okay, in the morning, when the children are in session, I had to wake on time, prepare them for school, and then take them to school. Now, having dropped them off in school, I am either in court, if I have a matter in court, or I have a meeting. With clients. For instance, now, I already have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning with a client. And in fact, immediately I'm done with this segment now, I have to prepare documents that will need to go with to meet with the clients. You understand? So if I'm not in court, because not every time I'm in court, if I'm not in court, is that I'm meeting with a client. If I'm not meeting with a client, I work mostly from home, where I'm always with my computer, either writing or I'm drafting and preparing documents for clients.
Wow.
And then when it's time for pickup, I ensure that when it's getting close to the time for pickup, I put every other thing aside. So once I pick up the kids, I know is to face the kids for the rest of the day. When they come back, freshen them up, they take lunch, then we face homework, catch up on what happened in school and all of that. And then we have dinner. Then once they go to bed, if I still have a little more time and I have some work I have kept, aside, I could just touch them before going to bed myself. So that's how my day typically.
Very interesting and quite a busy day, I must say.
Very, very.
Quite a busy.
Sometimes I get to like, hey, it seems like 24 hours is no longer enough for one.
I can imagine. I can imagine. So now, with your daily lifestyle, I am sure that a lot of people can relate to this. A lot of working class mothers can relate to this. Now, what strategies have you employed, to be able to manage the demands of your job and also your children, your family, and especially your children's education? What strategies have you been able to employ so that anybody listening to you can also benefit? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, the strategies I have been able to employ that has helped me thus far to be able to manage the home front, my career, ministry, and my own personal, social relationship with others. I've had some persons they get to ask me, how do you do it? You're married and my children are underage. I practically do almost everything for them. And I don't have a help. I've never had a house help. I do everything myself with my husband. Like, how do you do it? And then you still find time to write. I write a lot on Facebook. And then I do weekly newsletters. Though for some time I haven't done that, bit withdrawn. And how do you find time to do all of these things? And, okay, I'll just mention two things, especially as it relates to the children's education, having time for their education. And one thing I have to stress here, I want to believe when we mention education, it's not only restricted to their academics. Is all encompassing, everything that has to do with learning. Okay, so two things I will mention. The first is understanding my place as a parent and then knowing my assignments. What do I mean by this? The Bible says where your treasure is, that's where your heart will be also. What that means is what you place value on, that's what your attention will mostly be on. What you place value on. Yes. Now, understanding my place as a parent, I must come to understand the place and the importance of the child and his or her education. Knowing my place that, oh, I am just a custodian. The father has placed me as a custodian over these children, and I will have to give an account on what I did with their life, how I was able to impact them, and how I was able to bring out the best in them. So I will just break this one into two. Okay, understanding my place as a parent and then knowing my assignments. Now, in understanding my place as, a parent, I hope I'm allowed to quote scriptural verses.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, in Psalm 127, verse 3, the scripture makes us to understand that children are a reward from the Lord. They are gift from the Lord. They are gift from the Lord. So it is not something that we merit. So he sends us this gift for us to nurture on his behalf. So you know your place as a parent that, oh, this is a seed I have to nurture for the Lord, for the owner. We are like stewards taking care of this gift that the Lord has put in our place. So how do we take care? Knowing this will be at the back of your mind, oh, how I treat these children and how I prioritize things that matters to them. And then knowing my place of assignment. In Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6, the scripture says, train up a child in the way he should go. The question is, who is to train up the child? It means that the child does not know where he is to go. He does not know the path he is to take. If you leave him on his own, he can take the wrong path. Someone has to train him on the path he should take until he is old enough to not choose the path to walk on. And the scripture says, if you are able to train him on that path, when he's old enough to choose the path, he will continue to walk on the path that you have created for him. And who is to train the child? That is the assignment of the parents. That is the assignment. Now, knowing, oh, my place and my assignment, and then especially the educational aspects, knowing that, oh, the learning of the child is not only limited to, or it shouldn't be left alone for the school teachers alone or the Sunday school teacher in school. I, as a parent, I am the number one, the primary teacher that the child sees. I am the number one teacher. Yes, before he even meets the teacher in school or the teacher in Sunday school, I am the number one teacher that he sees. And that's my primary ministry. Time will fail me to take us through some strategies and this particular character that I always use in analyzing this aspect. But because of time, let's just move forward. So knowing that, oh, this is an aspect that I have to prioritize. Knowing that this is an important ministry that I have to focus on, that one helps me a lot. We have had testimonies, should I call it testimonies now, of stories of parents who have grown old and then they begin to regret how they have, apportioned time to other things and neglected the children. Neglecting the children. This brings me to one aspect that the education of the child, or we partaking in the education of the child, is not only limited to providing their school fees. Oh, you can provide their school fees, you put them in the best of schools, is beyond that. Like I said, we are the number one teachers from the home as a parent, whether the father or the mother. So having this at the back of my mind, it helps me to prioritize their education and every aspect of their lives as it relates to parenting. That's one strategy. And then the second one that helps me is what I call time management. I mentioned I was going to talk about two. Time management, time management is a skill that everyone should learn. Someone said time management is life management. The product of one's life is dependent on how we are able to manage our time. Everyone is given 24 hours, but you find out that some people are more productive than others. Those who are more productive and who achieve more, it's not that they were given more hours than we who are not. It's just because they were able to manage their time. Yes, they were able to manage their time. And in managing your time, you have to prioritize on what is most important. In managing your time is you either waste the time, you use the time, or you invest the time. And the education of the child is one aspect that you have to invest your time. Is one aspect that you have to prioritize. I hope we can get me.
Yes, very well. Very well.
Is one aspect that we have to prioritize. So learning to manage my time has also helped me in in getting involved in the education of the child. I will just say some things, to help those of us career men and women who are here, some effective steps we can take in time management to help us in getting more involved in the education of our child. The first is establish priorities. Establish priorities. You have to determine what is important. What is important? Remember, we started with when you know your place as a parent and the assignment over these children, then you know that it is something important that you have to prioritize. So you have to establish priorities, then apportion time for each activity per day in time management. So when you have been able to prioritize, okay, for my career, my children's education, their welfare and all of that, then you apportion time. Now I find for each day before I sleep every night, I have my checklist on my phone where I outline what I am likely to do the next day. So I make sure I put everything down. Just put everything down in order of priority. I put everything down. I always ensure that the children's education is infused there. I put everything down for my career, even down to my devotion in the morning. I put everything down. Then I apportion time. Then as each day goes, as I achieve any of them, I will tick them off. I tick them off. Then at the end of the day, I analyze and see, okay, what was I able to achieve today? What was I not able to achieve? Anyone I was not able to achieve, and it's also important, I take it over to the next day.
Wow.
So you have to apportion time, and then create time for realistic scheduling. Yes, that's what I call create time for realistic. Now, in scheduling this, your time and the activities for the day, be realistic. Don't just put everything, okay, I will watch tomorrow, I will do this, prepare this document, I will take, no, be realistic. And then put the things, that's why we brought in priority first, prioritize what is most important, put the ones that are most important and that are urgent. You put them first. And then the last one is delegate tasks to others. As much as you can delegate tasks to others. There are, some persons that have support system, and your support system can be your spouse. The truth is you can't do everything. That's just the truth. And apart from even having someone over to help, and there are other ways that you can delegate tasks. For instance, if for the child's education, maybe as a career woman, you come back late from work, you could have the class teacher maybe do a one-on-one lesson where they can help with the homework. But as soon as you get back, ensure you go through what has been done and revise with your kids. Okay, how did you arrive at this? It might be tiring, but remember the first thing, when you know that this is an aspect that is very important, is a sacrifice, is something worth sacrificing for. When you look at the future and what you intend to achieve, when you look at is an investment that you are sure to have a good return on investment in the future. You will sacrifice your sleep, your time, and everything just to ensure that this aspect is worth taking care of. I believe those two.
Wow. Awesome. Listening to you, I was just thinking, because when I came up with this theme, career and parenting, I kept like thinking through. I went through the platform. I was like, okay, I need to get someone to take this topic. So I was scrolling, and I got to you. I was like, and I remember who you are, because I've been able to teach two of your children. At least I taught one of them completely, and the other one I taught, for some time. And I know the kind of parent that you are. I know you are a lawyer. I know you are very busy, yet you are very passionate and intentional about your children's learning. And I also know that the kids do very well at school, despite your busy schedule. And permit me to also announce to everybody that your husband is also a lawyer. So you are both lawyers, and you are both very busy. and your children are doing extremely well, and you are very passionate. I remember when I taught your children how you always ask me questions about what's going on in the classroom. You call me at times, sometimes you come to school, whenever there's a challenge, we look at how to resolve it together, and I just knew that you would be the best person for this topic. And listening to you, wow, it's mind-blowing. Now look at all the systems that you have shared with us that you put in place. You talked about prioritizing as a parent. You talked about time management. So many people feel, like you said, oh, I have a to-do list where I've written down my plans for the day, but it's not just good enough to have those plans written. Like you said, realistic plans, realistic targets for yourself. Then lastly, you talk about delegation, which is so key. We can't do everything, especially as women, as mothers. That's why you see a lot of women these days having health issues and even having depression and all of that. So as much as possible, if you have a supportive staff, well, then you can always try to talk to your spouse and relieve yourself of some duties if it's willing to help you. If not, like she already suggested, you can get a help, that could come relieve you as well. Then I love what she says, because no matter how much you delegate these things, you still have to be involved. So take, for example, you delegate the lesson or the homework to a private teacher. As a parent, when you come back from work, you're supposed to still follow up, look through the homework, and be sure that the child has done what he is supposed to do. I know some parents come back from work and they are so tired, but you kept on talking passionately about prioritizing the children, no matter the career that you have found yourself doing, and no matter the kind of job or the distance. So we say, oh, I work so far away, I come back so tired. Prioritizing, when you know that these children come first, they should come first in everything, despite how busy you are, despite the money we are making, because really, all this money we are making, all this work we are doing is to make sure that the children are properly taken care of. So we neglect them and we start chasing a career, it's not going to play out fine in future. So I just thought to reinforce some of what Mrs. Matthew-Ero has said, because some of us came in while she was already speaking. So I thought to give an overview of what she has said so far. Thank you so very much, Ma. It's been an awesome pleasure having you here. Then at this point, I would like to ask a question. I mentioned that your children are outstanding in school, and their mommy is a lawyer and daddy is a lawyer. So do you think your profession has to do with your children's excellence at school?
I wouldn't want to totally say that. That would be more like, okay, saying it runs in the gene. But you see, there is much work still have to be done. An intelligent child, if not properly nurtured, can still do poorly in school. So you have to nurture the intelligence for it to get better and better. Now, there are some things that I put in place that I believe, apart from the God factor, of course, maybe we will have to mention that aspect later. There are some things, some practical things that I put in place to help them in ensuring that they do well in class. Number one, you have to get involved as a parent. Don't leave the child's learning, like I said, to the teachers alone. Get involved. And you don't leave the learning of the child to chance. He will know it, she will know it when it's time. You have to be intentional about ensuring that they know. Now, one thing I do, just like you have mentioned, I collaborate with teachers. For each class teacher that, and I thank God for the school they go to, for each of the classes they get to, we get to have the numbers of the teachers so you can relate with them I collaborate with the teachers. I get to call every now and then, okay, what are the challenges? What are the weaknesses? What are his strengths? What areas do you want us to work in or to work on? And then we have open day, I think twice every term. And then we get to talk, okay, what area for instance, we had one last week. We just finished our midterm. And then I got to know some areas where we needed to work on. And throughout this week for the term, we have been working on that. I want to believe by the time they go back tomorrow, we'll get some positive, reports. So I collaborate with the teacher. I don't leave the work for the teachers alone. And then I get to find out topics that they are, dealing with per time. Apart from checking their books, we have the parents platform where they let us know what the children do each day. So once I get to know, okay, these are the, and then what I go online, this one of the skills as a lawyer that I believe helps us. I research a lot. So I go online and then I search out some videos that relate to these topics. For instance, they are learning about time. I get videos online. I don't know, maybe later on we can share on the platform how you can download videos from YouTube and play on TV. Although we have smart TVs now. Some people have smart TVs. They can play the YouTube directly. But those of us that don't have smart TV, there's a way you can download from YouTube and you play on the TV for the children. So I have video. In fact, right from time, even before they started school, we'll get some select. We don't just allow them to watch just any videos. We are intentional about the videos, the cartoons they watch, the video. We ensure that apart from the usual entertainment cartoons, they watch educational videos where they learn more about education than the things they are doing in school. And you find out that there are some people who come like, what school do your children attend? And I'm like, this is the school, but apart from the school, we are also doing some work on our own. It's not just only the school alone. We are also doing the work. So we research and we get videos to collaborate on or to add to what the class teacher is doing. Sorry, the light just went off. Ooh, okay. My goodness. Sorry, they just there's a blackout in my area now.
It's fine, ma.
Okay.
I can see you clearly.
Yes, please. Okay, you can see me now, right? All right. So we download CDs. And then another thing that helps is knowing the strengths or the weakness of the child and how the child is able to assimilate well. For instance, it is not the method that you use for child A that you can use for child B. This does not only apply to the children in class, even our own children. The method you apply to the first child might not be the method you apply for the second child. And this is where, as a parent, you get to know the temperament and
Okay, so I think Mrs. Matthew-Ero's network is a little bit delayed. So if you're just joining us, you're welcome. We have Mrs. Matthew-Ero on set, and she has been sharing with us wonderful tips on how to manage your career as a parent or as a working mom. And it's been mind-blowing listening to all that she has to say. So far so good. We've learned from her about prioritizing. Despite our schedule, we need to take our children as priority. Like she was just talking about how she collaborates with her children's teachers, ensuring that she knows what is going on in the school. When it's time for open day, she goes for open day, and she's privileged to also have the teacher's contact. So she doesn't even wait for open day alone. She frequently finds out from the teacher every now and then how her children are performing in school. And this has greatly influenced children's performance in the school. Yes, so Mrs. Matthew-Ero
Sorry,
is back.
I
Yes, ma'am. It's
I
fine.
went off.
No problem. You're
So as
welcome
I
back,
was,
ma'am.
yes, so sorry about that. So as I was saying, we have to know and understand your child's strengths and weaknesses. For instance, my first child he's such that he cannot really sit down for long to, to read or to, so I have to understand his pattern and know how to, but he's very smart. Just teach him something, he can grasp it and, and run with it. But my second child, she can sit still, but she's not always able to grasp things so fast. But once she grabs it, she hardly forgets. So it will be unfair of me to use the same method I use for my son to use for my daughter. If that be the case, I won't be patient enough with my daughter to wait with her until she's able to grasp, whatever is being passed on. So I have to know the strength and the weaknesses to know what's the way to handle each child. And like I said, the video aspect. And then one thing we do is we take courses, we buy books, we join platforms where intentionality about the learning and education of the children are, being talked about, are being encouraged. We join platform. I've had to buy some courses just on parenting, just on, some aspects. Or there was a course I had to buy basically because of my daughter, on education and learning. Then we join platforms like Edup and, other clubs. Then we attend some webinars, some paid ones and some free ones, just for us to learn daily how to help them in their education. We don't just leave it to chance, and we don't just leave it for the teachers alone. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure that a
Mm.
lot of us listening now and those that will still be watching this later on will have a lot to learn from you. Now, just very quickly, I love what you said about using audio visuals to
Yes.
teach children. Yes, so and you have shared with us the benefits of these audio visuals in the children's learning. But I have a question. Are there potential drawbacks of these audiovisual materials for children? Do you think that there could be some drawbacks or disadvantages as well?
Okay, I would, or I believe this might also be linked to using technology in, aiding the child's education. I don't think there's anything in this life that has just advantage or has just disadvantage. For everything in there, you will always have advantage and then will always have disadvantage. Just a few days ago, my husband was telling me, he said, if we had Google in our time, we would have known much more things than we know now. And I laughed and and it's true. If we had Google, just like, today's child, they are exposed to a lot of resources that can aid their learning, that can help them, in their educational pursuits, if used appropriately, if used properly. You understand? For instance, in my child's school, we have they have a lot of platforms online where they are able to explore some learning opportunities. We have I don't know if I have to be mentioning so, and then you find out that it exposes them to a lot of positive things that they're able to learn from, that sometimes you find that they are ahead of their counterparts because they are exposed to some of this. This is why you find out a lot of children from the Western world, sometimes they are ahead of children from this part of the world because they are exposed to technology well early in life than those of their counterparts. So it is something that should be encouraged. But then it also has disadvantages, just like I said, that if it is not regulated, if it is not monitored, if the main word is regulated, it can hamper on the child's what you are trying to achieve. You might end up, should I use the word destroying it? For instance, too much of unmonitored or unregulated access to screen and visual, aids can result in, sorry, just a minute. Okay, it can reduce the social interaction between children. That this is one major disadvantage that I see in, you see some children, when they go out, they cannot just relate with other children. They just want to be with their iPad or be with their phones, their mommy's phone, before they can sit still. And, that can be a disadvantage. It is because that child has been exposed so much to technology and so much to screen. Another disadvantage that we can see could be reduction in cognitive development. In as much as, being exposed to technology or being exposed to these audiovisual facilities are good, the child needs to sit and think and reason and be creative. There should be a time for that. Now, just focusing on screen and getting entertained, or if you might even call it getting learning, it might hamper on the cognitive development of the child. So we have to regulate that. And then another thing is it could cause distractions. Distractions for the child. When it's time for reading, you find out that some children, when they are so exposed to technology like this, they don't find interest in reading again. In reading of hard copy books and, and doing other activities that are also beneficial to their learning. All they just want is the screen time. The screen is good, audiovisual is good, but it should be regulated so that we can have a balance.
Yes. So that's the key word. It has to be regulated so that we can strike a balance. Beautiful. I love the way you have put it. So like you rightly said, almost everything that has an advantage always comes with their disadvantages. But the key thing there is to strike a balance, which is regulation. Thank you very much, Ma. Now, I would like to share this with you. I'm taking you back, to your profession, Yes. So I would like to ask you, as a lawyer, how do you come
Yes.
with discussions about law, about rights, about ethics with your children? Now, I'm going to share this experience with you. The reason why I'm asking you this question, I have a child whose parents relocated. I mean, a pupil I was taught in school, whose parents relocated abroad. And we got talking one day, and she said, Mrs. April, can you imagine? He even had the guts to tell me that Mommy, I have rights. And I'm like, which rights? When you were in Nigeria, which rights? So what did you say to this as a lawyer? How do you teach your children about law, about rights, and about ethics?
Okay. I really don't think we talk about law in the home front with the kids. Yes, we deliberately don't do that, at least maybe for their age for now. Want to be talking about
but what will you say to parents? Yes.
Pardon?
I said, what will you say to parents who have children that have at least grown up to like age 10, 11, and they come home saying, Mommy, I have rights?
But then the question is, where did he get to know that he have rights? For those outside of the country, I get they get tutored in school, their rights. You understand? They get tutored in school. And that's one thing that we don't have in Nigeria. Now, there's an aspect of law called the family law. Under the family law, there's what you call the Child Rights Law or the Child Rights Acts. Now, in this child rights law, you have varieties of rights that the child enjoys. Varieties of rights. For instance, you know that the child has the right, he has the right to partake in cultural activities. But in this part of our climb, we really don't know some of these things. For instance, the child has the right to education, that if a child is is somewhere else when he should be in school, it is a crime, and parents can be punished for it. But we find out that the body that is responsible for implementing these laws in our country specifically, they are not really doing their job as they should. I was talking with a friend who the children are based in UK, and he was telling me, he said his children, if a child misses school for one day, you will have to explain why that child missed school. And you will not just explain, you will give evidence.
Wow.
If not, you will be worried, and those kids can be taken from you just one day. If you say the child was sick and went to the hospital, they can come to the hospital to visit the child. That's how far they take education and the right of children serious in that climb. But here we seem not to really attach much, but these rights are there. That's why I said, how the child in Nigeria, how would he even know that he has those rights? We don't talk about them. So it will take only once of those of us who have studied courses like this, that you get to know, oh, there are rights like this, and then you get to ensure that, oh, as far as my child is concerned, these rights have to be made. I have to be careful as a parent to ensure that that the interest of my child, and that's one of the thing that the law protects. Everything that is done for the child must be in the best interest of the child. That's what the law provides. So if I am providing education, shelter, and on any decision I am making must be in the best interest of the child. So the laws are there, but the question is, how many of us know these laws about the rights of the child? Not let alone talking about the implementation. But for our own children, we feel they are still young, although there are ways that we get to infuse some of these things without necessarily have to say, oh, this is the law, this is the law. For instance, if there are times that you find both of them arguing, and this one wants to talk, the other one wants to talk at the same time, and then we get to educate them. See, everyone have a right to be heard. So you have to wait your turn, let one person talk, and then the other can talk later. This is but you don't have to say, oh, this is the law, this is the law. But it is a right. The child has a right to be heard.
Yes.
The child has a right to be heard. So the laws are there. And, maybe one of these days we can have a segment to just analyze some of these child rights laws. Like, even as a parent and as a teacher, you are very careful to ensure that you don't break this law. We cannot say, oh, because Nigeria seems like a lawless nation now, we can do whatever we feel like and get away with it. There are still some persons that are made scapegoats. So it's just for us to be very careful, know these rights, and then ensure that
Wow. Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so very much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Like you rightly said, I think it's very important that one of these days we create a special segment for that, probably on the EduP platform, or if we are opportune to have another webinar, we can do that. Wow, it's been a very interesting session with you, and I know it's going quite late now, and I wouldn't want to take much longer, but we have really learned a lot from you. And I want to say a very big thank you, a very, very big thank you. I would have said, what advice will you have for parents? But as we kept on talking, at every point, you have shared good advice. And there's nobody that will listen to what you have said today. I would deny the fact that they haven't gained a thing or two. So I'm very delighted to have you here in our webinar. And I want to say thank you so much, ma'am. But before I let you go, yes, before I let you go, just a word. What one word would you like to leave with teachers or parents listening to you tonight?
Take this message is both to the teachers and the parents. Take the raising of the child or the education of the child as a calling. as a ministry for which you'll be accountable for.
Accountability. Yes. Thank you very much, ma. Yeah, so we're going to keep that right here in our hearts. Yes. We are going to be accountable for every child, every child. Wow.
Yes.
That's such a great one. Thank you so very much, ma'am. And if there's anybody that has something to say, you can quickly do that in the chat box or mute your mic, because we are about to end this segment right now. Okay, do I have anybody? I'm looking for hands, and if there are no hands, yes, thank you very much, ma'am. So everybody, you can unmute your mic to say thank you. We've come to the end of this session, and I'm so grateful to our participants tonight. Thank you for joining us here. It's such a delight to see you. So you can please unmute your mic.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for the session. It was a great one.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Wow.
It was wonderful being here.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It's a pleasure hearing from you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a wonderful one.
It's such a pleasure having us all here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes, so you've had it all from our participants tonight. We are also very happy and so grateful listening to words of wisdom from you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night's rest. Thank you, Tina, Linda, Chancellor Theo, Obi
Thank
Gloria.
you. Blessings.
Yes, thank
Blessing. You've been
you.
wonderful.
Mrs. Banjo, yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Have a good night's rest. Bye. Thank you, ma'am, Mrs. Matthew-Ero. Bye, Linda. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.